Hello, everybody. It's your girl Mariah Sincere, aka Thepassportsis on TikTok, and I am a self-love coach who helps women radically transform their lives through one-on-one sessions. If you're interested, shoot me an email at thepassportsis@gmail.com. The proof is my life. At the beginning of the year, I decided it was time for a change. I was a teacher and I decided I wanted to move out the country, and I created a plan and I executed it. So if you're interested in changing your life in a drastic way, if you are not happy with the way things are going, and you need somebody to help you out step by step and hold you accountable to the things that you say that you're going to do, shoot me an email. Um, Guys, I'm so irritated because I actually did this topic not a couple weeks ago. I did this topic on Friday or Saturday last week. And YouTube is tripping right now. I've had a couple videos get flagged, and I've appealed them and they put them back up, but by then it's too late. Like once your video loses momentum, it just is a wrap, right? And I also did a video about this, and I talked about the unaliving, the mass unaliving at Apalachee High School. And apparently during that stream, I used third-party content and I tried to appeal it, but YouTube denied my appeal and they did not put the video back up. So I just ended up deleting it. But this topic is so important to me that I felt the need to come back on here and just redo it, re-talk about it. We had a good time. I was on that live for like 2 hours, but at the same time, the message needs to be heard because it's that bad. Like, it's the education system is that bad. I'm going to try to be careful. I'm not going to use any type of third-party content or videos today. Well, I might. Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, we can go on TikTok, right? But this is a highly politicized topic as well, and YouTube does a lot of censoring, and it's usually in one way. Like, it's usually against one side of things. We're not going to talk about that, but they're tripping because it's election season and they're doing a lot with the algorithm. So I'm going to wait for a couple people to get in here. Please remember to hit the like button and comment. The more that you comment, it keeps me going. It keeps my energy up. And if you like my content, then people will be able to see that I'm live. I'm going to pour me up some water while we wait. If y'all hear some construction in the background, I apologize. My neighbor next door is getting their patio redone, and I can't wait till later on tonight to do it because I'm going to go to the park and spend time with my daughter. I'm gonna light, y'all. I be burning these candles until there's like nothing left in them. I don't even know if I can still light this one. I need one of those long lighters, like one of those big ones. Let's see. I'll burn my thumb playing. Nah, I don't think that's gonna work. Does it have? Ah! Okay, let me try my other one. There we go. Got it. All right. So, as you all have seen on the news, there was a mass unaliving at Apalachee High School in which 2 students passed transition, as well as 2 teachers. And I used to be a teacher in the United States. I taught for 2 years. I taught in a middle school 1 year, and I taught in a high school the second year. And part of the reason why I decided that it was time for me to relocate to the United States was because I saw that our education system is getting to a point that is beyond repair. And I don't care how much money is thrown at the situation, the interest of the adults involved in both sides. Okay. And y'all know I'm talking about the parties. I'm trying not to say, I'm trying not to get my channel flagged. They use it as a culture war issue, but honestly and truly, neither side has a vested interest in making sure that these kids learn, nor does our culture have a vested interest in making sure that our children learn. And it's all about money. Okay. A lot of the times you will see people on the D side complaining that the R's want to cut school funding because they want to fund these private schools and charter schools, which is true. And in those schools, they pay the teachers less, and the standardized testing that they do, a lot of times they fudge the numbers on their testing to make it look like they're doing better than what they are. But guess what? In public school, they do the same things too. As well as at the administration level in public school, it is not uncommon for superintendents and the people that work in the finance department to help the superintendents steal money. That when y'all see these superintendents that get caught, for example, there's a school district in a southern suburb of Dallas, Texas, where the superintendent got caught during COVID time stealing funds and bought a whole mansion, paid the mansion off, got caught, was in the news, didn't go to prison. Matter of fact, he's a superintendent at another school district in Texas. So while people spend time on social media fighting about, which side cares about education more and pay the teachers more and being mad and angry and yelling at each other, both sides are getting paid at your children's expense. But guess what? The American people are partly to blame for that. And I think it's very important for me to, first of all, give my condolences to the families of the teachers and the children. And it appeared like the kids that did get unalived at the high school were actual good students. And that doesn't mean that if you're not a good student, you deserve to have your life taken. That's not what I'm saying. But the culture has become so bad in the United States, and the accountability and the standard that we hold ourselves to as parents and the accountability that we hold our children to is lacking so much that unfortunately these things are going to continue to happen, and they're happening increasingly. And it doesn't matter how many regulations that you put on pew pew. The fact of the matter is the rise of mental illness in the United States is very real and only worsening. And this is not going on in mass in other countries. And there is a reason why. Okay. Now, first of all, let me say this. I want to say that the principal that ran my last high school, he was an amazing person, and he did the best that he could with the situation that he had at the time. So I'm not going to name any of my employers or school districts that I work for. So I want to be very clear. This is not an indictment on him. I will say that given the situation that the district put him in, he did the best that he could. If anybody is to blame in that situation, it's going to be the district. But there's so much money tied up into the school system that the district has incentive to pass your children along, even though they're not learning. And we're doing this in mass. The vast majority of Gen Z and Gen Alpha cannot read. They're illiterate. And even if they can read, they don't understand what they're reading. There's no reading comprehension at all. If you ask them to read a paragraph, they're like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? You're tripping. You're doing too much today. The long gone are the days where in high school, in English class, the class reads a chapter book together. That's not the type of work that they're getting. They're getting paragraphs, maybe a couple pages at a time, and these are juniors and seniors. Okay. So again, I just want to make sure that if that principal watches, he was awesome. My assistant principal last year was amazing. And our department, we had a pass rate of 94% on our state exam. I had a high pass rate of 94% on my state exam, and that was all because A, our AP was amazing, and B, she trusted me to do the job that I was hired to do, and she let me teach the content my way. But most teachers are not allowed to do that, and their kids are failing drastically. Like, it's terrible. And part of that is because you have school administrators who are telling teachers what to do and dictating their every move, down to telling teachers that they need to write scripts and have a script in hand and be teaching from a script while they're teaching their students, as if that's not weird and it's not awkward. And the people at the district, 9 times out of 10, were terrible teachers, and they worked at the district level because they wanted to get out the classroom. These are the people who are dictating to teachers what they need to do in the classroom and writing teachers up and firing them when they are not staying 100% on script. Hey, D Mally, it's good to see you here. Yeah, I was saying, I know you were on the live the other night, but I had to redo this because YouTube locked my contents. I didn't realize, D Mally, while we were in the middle of the stream, they had ended my stream. And they blocked it, so nobody can see it. I just went ahead and removed it and was like, I'm gonna do it again, but I do have a warning on my channel. So, let's talk about the violence at the school. Now, on at least 3 occasions at the end of last school year, it was like it was happening once every week. We were going on lockdown, like, for active pew-pews. Okay. You said you told me the stream ended. I must have been so into that. Remember, we were watching Mary Kay Letourneau, the the child loving lady. And I must have been so into that I didn't even realize what was going on. And Binky was in the comments like, yeah, YouTube been tripping lately. And I was like, well, what are y'all talking about? I didn't realize they might have been kicked off the comments section, out the chats. But so we went on lockdown, and I don't know, like, a lot of the times when that happens, we're not told if it's a drill or not. And because there's a constant threat of violence these days in schools, you just never know. A lot of times, y'all see what goes on the news. Kids are constantly, on a daily basis, threatening to come unalive other children at the school, especially when they get mad. So we would have to expel a lot of children on a daily basis if in every single one of those situations we took it seriously. And a lot of the times when you go try to complain, now I'm not saying this happened at my last school. I never complained about a kid, threatening this to the principal. But I remember at the first school district that I worked at, there was a kid in the hall who I heard threatened to unalive another student. And the kid was from Highland Hills, which is a bad area in Dallas, had been in trouble was on probation for aggravated robbery. So it wasn't like he wasn't about that life. And I made a report, and I was treated like I was inconveniencing the principal, because you have to understand, a lot of the things that hit the news, y'all don't get half of it. Y'all don't get a quarter of what really goes on in these schools, because the principals in the school district try to cover it up before it hits the news. So that the school is really a dangerous place to be at this point in time. I remember we were go on drill at my last school at the end of the year, and I'm saying at least 3 times. I feel like it was more than that, because I remember at one point I was like, oh my God, and it seemed like it would happen at the end of the day each time. And I was like, why do we keep going on drill? And a lot of times they don't tell us what's going on. Hey, Cha-Cha, what's up? I'm glad to see you here, sis. I don't remember if you were on my live I did about the education system, but girl, it got pulled down, so I have to do this again. And me personally, when we would go on those drills, I would be on high alert and high anxiety every single time. But I wasn't one of those teachers where we were gonna sit and hide in the back of the corner. That's another thing. The safety doesn't even make sense at this point, especially when most of the people most likely to come into the schools and do this are students, and they already know what to expect. They already know that you're going to turn off the lights, cover the window, and everybody's going to be in the back hiding in the corner. So all you got to do is bust down the door and it's open season on everybody. So during the fire drills, all my kids, we would be up on that door. I tell everybody, get you a weapon here. I had kids with books, lamps, chairs. I'd boil my pot of hot water and we would be ready, because if somebody walked out through them doors, we was gonna have some for their ass. When nobody finna be sitting in the back waiting for somebody to just come pick us off like sitting ducks. Nah, baby, we you about to catch this work, you know? Thoughts on the assistant principal who got her eye knocked out its socket by a student? Yeah, the parents are the problem. Absolutely. These kids are getting worse and worse every day. Like I said, they're violent. There are constant threats of violence. And I get so irritated when I see, for example, there was a teacher in Texas, I believe he was in Rockwall, and a student pissed him off and he got to cussing and going off. And I get so irritated when these type of things hit the news and these parents are coddling these kids. Oh, well, they don't need to be cussing at these kids and talking to these kids like that. Who do y'all think that we're teaching? Who do you think these kids are? These parents let these kids listen to rap music all day long, and it's brainwashing, it's programming. All they hear is red rum, red rum, red rum. If you watch Stephen King, you know what that is. Unaliving, doing the nasty. Like, that's all they're psychologically programmed. And then on top of that, these parents are a different breed of parents. I can't tell you how many kids that I had last year in high school who would tell me that their parents let their boyfriend and girlfriend come spend the night and they sleep in the same room. The spending the night part is wild, regardless of whether or not y'all are or not sleeping in the same room, but they're sleeping in the same rooms. A lot of my students would smoke. I don't know if I'm allowed to say marijuana, but I'm gonna say it. They would smoke marijuana with their parents, right? They would drink alcohol, go out on the week. It was like they were grown people. And the parents would say things to the kids like, well, y'all are going to do it anyway, so you might as well do it up under my roof. And I remember when I was in school, there were parents like that, but generally those were thought to be the parents who really didn't care about their kids. But now it's almost every parent. If it got to the point where I didn't even call parents anymore, because every time you call a parent about their kid, they get so defensive because of what they're not doing at home that they have to try to figure out a way to make it the teacher's fault. And I don't understand that. As both the teacher and a parent. You know, when my daughter's teachers called me, I don't care what happened, honestly and truly. Your job as a student is to make sure this woman doesn't call me. So by virtue that she called me, I'm going to have to get you and you're going on punishment as well. Because even if the lady, this is the thing these kids love to say and these parents love to believe, they're letting 15 and 12-year-olds run game on them. Oh, the teacher don't like me. The teacher picking on you. When I tell you 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, these teachers have a million and one things to be worried and stressed about. They are not worried about your kid. Your kid is not all that special, to be honest. And any of my former students watching this, I love all of y'all. I can't say there was one kid that I just did not like. Any problems I had, it was with your sorry ass parents. Honestly and truly. But as far as y'all, my students, I loved y'all. Y'all know I did the best that I could with y'all. But as students, some of y'all were trifling and lazy. And y'all made me work really hard. But I mean, luckily we accomplished our goal at the end of the school year. They also want to prove a point to their peers by way of disrespecting the faculty and staff. Exactly. And it's to the point now where the teachers can't even kick the students out the classroom. Now, me, I put you out every single time. And luckily, I had an AP that would never send the students back to my classroom. But it gets to the point where these kids do whatever they want to do because there's no ISS in school anymore. There's not. There's no ISS. And on top of that, they have in some schools what's called reset. So it's like a little calming room. But the people that they hire for reset, they're always these young, cool teachers who don't want to do any work, who don't want to make their job stressful. So it's not like it's not a punishment. It's like, we're going to go in here and giggle and laugh with all the other bad kids that's in here. And the teacher's going to be cool. If you suspend them for fighting now, they don't even give tickets. They don't arrest the kids. And like when I was in school, we used to have to think about it. Like I remember I waited until the summertime to fight this girl in middle school because and I wanted to fight her so bad. And she kept telling everybody she was gonna beat me up, and I didn't say anything. I literally had to wait to catch her in my apartment during the summertime to fight her, because if I would have fought her at that schoolhouse, my parents would have I was living with my grandparents at the time. My grandparents would have gotten a $300 ticket. Like, these were things you had to think about, especially if you grew up in poverty or low income. Now, the kids don't care because there are no consequences. The schools don't want to look bad for having to call the police up at the school. And then the thinking is, well, we don't want to criminalize these young kids. Okay, well, now they're running amok and the fights are even worse now. When I was in school, if you jumped somebody, you were considered a punk. Most of the fights, the majority of the fights, are one-on-one. Now, one-on-one fights are so rare because these kids don't know how to fight. They don't have no heart. And jumping is cool now. I can't tell you how many times a fight would break out in the school and you would see groups of kids bragging about, oh yeah, we whooped that ass, like talking like that. And I would be like, but y'all jumped them. It's obvious that you were good. It was 5 against 1. It was 5 against 1. At one incident, a boy got jumped and stomped out so bad that he started seizing and had to go to the hospital. And there were no criminal charges filed on these boys. And this wasn't just at my school. This is going on across the country. Y'all see these mass unalivings and think that that is the only problem, and it's a major problem. Rest in peace to the victims. Nobody should get their life cut short. But students have also been unalived in school from getting jumped. I remember a few years ago, they beat this girl to death. 3 girls beat another girl to death in the bathroom. I remember having full-fledged drug addicts as substitutes, and they would let us do whatever we wanted. There have been incidences in schools that I know of substitute teachers sparking up with students. The one in particular that I know of, somebody told on her, they videotaped it, and she got walked out that day. But a lot of y'all, this is another thing. I'm trying to talk without giving, because I don't want to be implicated in any legal I don't want to have to testify against nothing, baby. But a lot of the times you think it's the students that's bringing the drugs into the schoolhouse. And there are a lot of cases where it's getting into the schoolhouse via adults. And it's bigger than what you think. That's all I'm going to say. And a lot of the times teachers, y'all expect us to speak up. But if a teacher speaks up about an S, and we're supposed to report these things, right? But if a teacher speaks up about a SA or adults doing things that they shouldn't be doing, depending on the principal and the school district that you work for, you're more likely to get fired for speaking up than that person is to get fired and charged for doing what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, the school districts primary interest is protecting their image. And a lot of the times, you don't know who knows who. A lot of the people that carry on with this type of behavior and don't get caught do so because they know somebody that works in school administration. They might be sleeping with a principal. They might be sleeping with the super. They might be sleeping with somebody who's close to the super. There's so much corruption across school districts, even in these liberal school districts who keep trying to, and I'm not a Republican, y'all. I'm independent. But even in these liberal school districts who keep trying to make the Republicans the monster because they're not throwing more money into the school districts for them to steal, they're behaving this way. So we got to get out of that brainwashing and letting people divide us on this issue of education based on political party, right? You I worked in a school district where the good students who would actually come in and do their work and could read and write, they'd go to the school board meetings and complain because they were pissed because we could not fail students who did not do their work. It was school policy that you could not give less than a 50. Why? Because if a kid has a 50, if they mess up the entire 6 weeks or the entire semester, then they can come make it all up, or we can give them an easier project, and then at least they have an opportunity to pass. So how that felt like to the kids who were actually putting in the effort is, why am I going to put in the effort? Why when people can pass and they didn't even do the work, or you just give them easier work? It's very disheartening and frustrating. And a lot of the times the school districts, y'all got to understand, there's this thing called college career military readiness, right? And the school districts in places like Texas get their funding based on whether or not they can prove the students are hitting certain metrics in that college and career military readiness, right? We're supposed to be able to send them along somewhere better so that they can be a productive citizen. But the kicker is the majority of them can't read. So what's going on with that is the school district's money is tied to their grade and their rating within that system. So a lot of teachers at many schools are being encouraged, like the principals will put a lot of pressure or say without saying, you need to like cheat, you need to pass these students. And a lot of school districts are fudging the numbers. The kids are not as prepared. And I got into an argument. This pissed me off. I got into an argument with somebody on Facebook, which, first of all, I shouldn't have been arguing with nobody on Facebook. I had time that day. Normally, I just ignored the BS. Who actually works in the school district. And he thought, oh, well, when I said that most of the kids can't read, he was like, well, most of your kids can't read. Our kids are college and career readiness and they can read. He was gaslighting to the max. And that's what I'm saying. The people at the school districts, or the people who work in the I'm sorry, guys, TEA, these agencies that are over the school districts, they are in denial about the problem. All of us teachers are saying the same thing, that these kids can't read and they lack reading comprehension, and we're being gaslit. People are telling us, no, it's just your kids, or you're just a bad teacher. I taught high school. Okay. By the time they come to me, if you're 16 or 17 years old, you should know how to read. That's not my job. And on top of that, I taught social studies. I wasn't even an English teacher. Right. So they're covering up the problem. And these are the kids that are going to be working at the fast food restaurants. These are the kids that are going to have the jobs at the government offices. These are the people that you're going to see working at the DMV, and they can't even read. Can't even read. But because the school district's money is tied to making it seem like the school is doing well, they will do whatever they have to make it seem like these kids are where they need to be, and they just pass them along. They just pass them along. And we're supposed to give them numerous after numerous chances. I can't tell you how many times a day I'd have to check somebody for trying to use Chat GPT or Googling answers. Just Googling answers. Just Googling answers, copy and paste it. There's too many dynamics at play to make blanketed statements and solely blame the teacher. There's too many people procreating that have no business doing so. Exactly. These parents are sorry and trifling. I'm the majority, because y'all, teachers are already overworked to the max. And I'm gonna go back to the security thing. A lot of people, when they see these mass unalivings in the news, their response is reactionary. People who have not ever worked in a school all of a sudden are the experts in telling us what we need to do to fix the problem. So they automatically go to, there needs to be metal detectors at every door and police on every campus, and the teachers need to be monitoring the halls. First of all, do you know how much work teachers do? When I was a teacher, I only got 3 hours of sleep every night. It was crazy. Second, the the school I worked at last year, and I'm not going to say the name again, but everybody in the community knows this happened. We already had security guards at every door and metal detectors and backpack checks and things like that. Well, a boy got into a fight with another boy, called up his brother. The brother got on campus with a pew pew, and we had to go on lockdown. Now, in that situation, a boy was taken to jail and charges were filed. But after that situation, teachers had to give up their planning periods, which we use to plan lessons to teach kids, to be in the halls monitoring. Now, when you have kids already behind, we already don't have time to plan our lessons. Now we're taking away a planning period from teachers to monitor the halls. That's crazy. That's not a real solution. And on top of that, the kids that want to bring contraband into school, they're not coming through doors with metal detectors and security guards. They study the adults. They watch the adults. They know ways to get into the building that we would never even think of. Normally what happens in those situations is these kids become sneakier and sneakier. You have kids who open the doors that are locked, that you shouldn't even be able to get into from the outside. They will go open the doors for other students. So you can never, I don't care how much security you put on a campus, I don't think that that's something that is preventable. And in any event, the school districts don't have the money to do that. And it already feels like jail. It already feels like a dreadful place that you don't want to be in. So y'all solution is to turn the schools into a penitentiary rather than changing the culture and changing how you parent your kids. That is not normal for kids to go to school at juvenile detention. And I bet none of that extra work came with extra pay. No, it does not come. We teachers work on salary. So you could work 40 hours a week or you could work 80 hours a week and you're not getting paid extra. No, no. And they'll have you do. I remember this is when I was preparing my kids for my state exam last school year. The school district decided that they wanted my kids to take ACT, SAT prep because they forced all the kids, again, to make it appear as if they were college and career ready. They forced all the kids to take the SAT, right? Basically, it's like, y'all all got to take it, right? And y'all going to take it during school hours. Now, that's not normal. When I was in school, if you didn't want to go to college, you didn't have to take the SAT or ACT. That was optional. And most of my students at my school did not want to go to college. So I was teaching a subject that was state tested. They had to pass that exam in order to graduate high school. So, like a whole 2 months before the test came up, they forced me to take 20 minutes out of my class every day to make the students do SAT, ACT preparation, right? And the crazy part is that most of the kids didn't even get to actually get the benefit of the SAT, ACT preparation because the diagnostic test was like 200 questions. So there was no point. And when we tried to, as a department, point this out, hey, y'all are wasting our time and they're not even going to get to the actual tutorials, the school district ignored us. And my theory is that there was some money tied to it, right? And that's another problem. A lot of the times teachers can't even be consistent and do things that make sense because school administration is always introducing programs or making us do stuff that doesn't have anything to do with our classroom because they've partnered with an outside program and there's money tied to it. There's so many problems. I could go on and on all day. The football players right now, again, if my football players are watching this, I loved all of y'all, right? I loved all of y'all, but a lot of their parents were very irresponsible. You could tell that a lot of their parents see them as a meal ticket to fame and money, right? So instead of them being concerned about their child actually learning and knowing how to read, they wanted us to pass them. It was like, if you don't pass my kid, I'm gonna figure out a way where I can make this all about the teachers and try to sue the school district and threaten the school to sue the school district. You have parents real life out here pimping their kids and not caring that if they can read a contract if they go to the NFL or the NBA. Matter of fact, I feel like a lot of these parents would prefer that their kids stay ignorant so that they can be in control over a lot of their finances when they get older. It's very sad. One of the main reasons, and again, I'm going to say this too, the students were not the main reason why I quit. Matter of fact, I was one of those teachers. I was very no nonsense. If you came into my classroom smacking your lips and with an attitude and talking crazy to me, you got to go. Bye. Well, Miss Brown, where am I going to go? I don't care where you go. You just got to get out of my face today and we can try again another day. And there's this heavy emphasis on social emotional learning. Like if a kid comes in and they don't want to do what you ask them to do, you're supposed to cater to them and keep asking them what's wrong and let them disrespect you, let them cause a disruption in the classroom and have all this empathy and sympathy. And I don't have that in me. I don't care. And it's not that I don't care about the kids, but you're going to have to learn how to deal with me maturely, right? And I would tell my kids all the time, if you're not having a good day, it's okay for you to come in the classroom and let me know that. It's okay for you to tell me, hey, something is going on, or I didn't get enough sleep last night because I had to work all night. Can I lay my head down? It is not acceptable for you to come in here and treat me any kind of way and disrespect me just because you're having a bad day. And I stood on that every time. As soon as they got talk crazy to me, you want to mumble something under your breath, get out, go. Get out, go. And I didn't deal with it. Like there were teachers who got cussed out every single day last school year. But my kids didn't play with me like that. I got cussed out maybe a couple of times, and that was when they were on their way out the door. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. And I wasn't one of those teachers to get into the kid's face or anything. Like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to go back and forth. We're not going to escalate this situation. You just have to get up out my classroom. But a lot of teachers don't even feel like they can do that. They feel like they have to just accept it and put up with it because these assistant principals will bring these students back to my classroom. And I didn't play like that. I remember one time This was during a day where we had to take a test. And the last time we took a standardized test, there was this little girl in the classroom who cussed me out. And she wasn't my student. She was just placed in my room for that day, who cussed me out because I told her to be quiet while we were taking a state examination. She cussed me out. So, of course, she had to go. The next day we were taking state examination, the little girl walked into my classroom and I said, "Oh, baby, no, you got to go. You got to go." So the testing advisor and the school administrator thought that they were going to force me to keep the kid in the classroom. I said, "Baby, you can either have her in this classroom or I feel sick and I can't work today. I need to go home. What you want to do?" But the problem is a lot of teachers don't stand up for themselves. So they get mistreated like that. I kind of got off topic, but one of the main reasons why I said, okay, this is enough for me. I can't continue doing this is because I knew eventually I was going to be on the news for laying hands and feet on one of these parents. Right? Because again, I was not the teacher. I got to the point where I wouldn't even call parents. I was not the teacher to talk to parents. I would see teachers calling the same parents over and over again, and the parent continues to show you that they don't care. I wasn't like that. I knew these parents were ignorant. So there was this boy, we're gonna call him Meatball. Okay. And I'm saying that because he had another name that people called him based on food, but we're gonna call him Meatball. Meatball had issues with every school that he went, every class that he went to. Okay. Now, Meatball was basically he had a plan to where we were supposed to like work with him, like give him extra time for work, let him take breaks and things like that. So he had paperwork on that. The problem is that Meatball would come to class, put his backpack down, think that you were going to mark him present, and then proceed to leave the classroom and be at every single lunch and never come back to class. Not one time during the entire school year did this boy turn in an assignment to me, and I would work with him. There were plenty of times where I just went ahead and passed him. But he would do this not just in my class, he would do this in other people's classrooms. So people would call his mother over and over again, and the behavior continued. He had absolutely no respect for this woman. So before we had to take our big state examination, I was spending my time teaching an additional 2 hours after school. So I would come to work at 7:30 and I would leave at 5:30 just so that I can tutor my kids, because we weren't even going to be able to get through the curriculum. Why? Because they were having us do so much stuff that didn't have anything to do with our lessons months before this test. And on top of that, they took away 20 minutes of my class time to do SAT, ACT prep. So I was having to stay after school to do tutoring to make sure that my kids who wanted to get through the curriculum got through the curriculum. The football team was mandated to come to tutoring, and he was on the football team. Fine. It was not mandatory, but fine. He would come to my class and be on the phone while the rest of us were actually working. He would be on the phone the entire time. Every time I say, Meatball, why are you on the phone? I'm talking to my mom. It was always, I'm talking to my mom. And this would irritate me. And that wasn't I would have kids whose parents would call them about random things, knowing that they're at school in the middle of the class. It was just too much. These parents are disrespectful. So I let him do that for like 3 days. He got on my nerve. The 4th day came and he came in my classroom and I automatically was not having it. And, you know, I guess I could have said it better, but honestly and truly, I don't care. So I said, Meatball, don't come in here with that bullshit today. What? Look, if you want to come in here and learn and do the assignments and do the group work, you can stay, right? Text your mom and tell her you're at tutoring and put that phone away though. So after I said that, he was like, well, miss, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I just got one question. I said, okay. How you gonna tell me what I can and cannot talk to my mama about? Soon as he said that, I said, just go. Get out my class. Get out. You can't stay. No, you can't stay. Bye. Go. Now, some people might have thought that was too harsh, but again, I had been dealing with this student all year. I had talked to him that entire week about his behavior. And at this point, I'm not about to play these games with you trying to bait me into an argument, knowing damn well I did not tell you what you can and cannot talk to your mother about. My point was that you can't be on the phone with your mother this whole tutoring. That was my put the cell phone away. So I'm not about to play these games with you that you play with your mother and that you play with these other teachers. So we're not going to go back and forth. You clearly don't want to be here. Toodles. You could try again tomorrow. So he left the classroom. All the rest of my kids came. Another coach came. I got them started on their activities. They all had a task to do for tutoring. And another teacher calls me outside because she wanted to discuss some solutions for a student that we mutually had that she was having issues with. So we're a little bit down the hall. Meatball comes around the corner, as well as his mother. And I automatically, when I looked at her, I understood who was the real problem. This woman came around that corner with this Tyler Perry wig on and two rotten front teeth. Didn't care how she walked out the house. Mind you, this was not a poor school district that I worked in. Okay. She just didn't care. So the other teacher was like, hi, can I help you? She walked up all swole. Yeah, I'm here to see Miss Brown. I said, I'm Miss Brown. Hi, how you doing? Hello, what had happened with my son? Why'd you put him out the tutoring? So I explained to him the same thing, explained to her the same thing I explained to y'all about him coming to tutoring and playing. So she said, well, what was this you said about some bullshit? I said, oh, I told him don't come in my classroom with that bullshit today. I said, and I mean that. And I'll say that in front of you. And I'll say that in front of the principal or anybody else as well. Well, I just had one question. How do you expect a kid to want to learn when you talk to them like that? Cut. The conversation was done at that point because, see, again, you want me to motivate your child more than what you can motivate your child. And I've seen his behavior all year long. And me as a teacher, y'all, I did so much more than other teachers at that school. I had a point system so that if you came in class and your team did everything they were supposed to do, at the end of the semester, my kids got Wingstop. Everybody got Wingstop, cake. And then on top of that, I spent like $1,500 on gifts. I gave away spray background backpacks, purses, anime stuff. My cousin, who trains famous boxers, spent so much money. He came up there and gave away $100 Amazon gift cards and Xbox gift cards, and everybody left with something. Some of those kids left with like $300 worth of stuff. And I organized all this by myself. One of my assistant principals donated some money. One of the other teachers donated some money, but the school district did not help me. Okay, I put this together. So if you have a teacher like that can't motivate you, there's nothing else I can do. And these parents expect us to coddle their grown kids who are drinking and smoking and doing the nasty on a daily basis to try to motivate them to learn. And I don't have it in me, especially by the time they get to 16, 17. If they don't want it, they're just not going to get it. I'm sorry. That just is what it is. So when the mother sat up there and tried to talk to me about her feeling like I was demotivating him, talking to him like that, I cut the conversation short. See, because this is why this boy feels like he can come in here and play with me, because you feel like you can play in other grown people's face. So I said, you know what, ma'am, this conversation is over. Bottom line is, if I don't want somebody in my tutoring, they're not going to be here. You have a good day. So I turned around and walked away in my classroom, and I tried to shut the door, she walked behind me and she's talking mess. So she was like, yeah, you acting like you don't hear me, but bitch, you feel me. When she said that, I was turned around. I turned back around, flung that door open, and got right up in her face and didn't say nothing. Right? And I needed her to know there's not going to be any more talking. So she didn't say another word. My co-teacher that was with me got in between us, and all I hear is the kids saying, Miss Brown, don't do it. Miss Brown, don't do it. So later on, my co-teacher was like, Brown, you turned around one way and you turned back around another way. It was like the devil was in you. And it was at that moment that I knew I can't keep doing this. I'm going to end up on the news because these parents feel they don't have any respect for us as teachers, and they feel like we should continue to put up with their problem children and smile about it. And I don't have any problem working with any kids. I always work, like when I tell you, when I would put my kids out or when I would have to check my students for trying to be disrespectful, guys, I didn't write referrals on them. I want to give you a second chance. I want to help you out. But I'm not going to do that while you're disrespecting me. The only apology I accept is changed behavior. So, anyway, she got the message. She ended up saying she confused me with another teacher. This is what she told the other teacher and the principal, because my assistant principal was upset. Like, I think she wanted to file charges on her. So she was like, well, no, I got her confused with somebody else. I apologize. So what ended up happening is they transferred that student to another teacher, and he was doing the same thing. He was doing the same thing he was doing. And then the mom was threatening to sue. Another problem that's really big in the schools right now is everybody has some type of learning disorder or psychological disorder. So you have what's called like an IEP or a 504, right? And an IEP is if your kid has a learning disability, and certain learning disabilities fall up under what's called an IEP. And if your kid has an IEP, that means that they might need instructional support, like they might need somebody to sit with them and help them during English class, or somebody to pull them out for one-on-one. That might mean that the kid has to be allowed extra time for assignments, or you might need to include visual aids. So that works fine when you just have, hey, DJ Batman, how are you today? Thank you for showing up. Guys, y'all remember to hit the like if you're watching. That lets people know that I'm on live. But that works fine if you just have one or two kids in the classroom with an IEP. But there were classes where I had 7 or 10 of them in a class full of 30, and they only have one instructional support to help these kids. And a lot of the times, the instructional support weren't even people who were truly qualified to help them. They were coaches. And one of the coaches that I knew at one particular school, he couldn't even read. I heard him trying to read a treatment plan for a kid, and I didn't want that man to read anymore. He was worse than the kids. I don't think he understood what he was reading. So, and then on top of that, so you have the kids who are on the IEPs, and then you have the kids who are on the 504. So 504 doesn't necessarily have to be a learning disability. It could be something like they have ADHD. So they're allowed certain, what is it called? I forgot that quick. Accommodations, right? And I'm all for implementing these accommodations. The problem is that these parents felt like these IEPs and these 504s were a get out of jail free card. Basically, we were supposed to let these children act however they wanted to act in the classroom and not even try and not even do the work or not even put forth any effort and still pass them. No, ma'am. No, sir. That's not how that works. An IEP plan is a plan to help a student who is trying. A lot of these kids would not even try, knowing that their parents were going to defend everything that they do. And a lot of these parents would threaten to sue the school district or school or sue the principal. And it's like, I can't even implement an IEP or a 504 if your kid isn't even showing up to class. Or if when they show up to class, they're sleeping the entire class. I can't even implement the accommodations because they're not even trying. But the problem is, it's like, it's getting to the point where it's kind of like almost half, and at least a quarter of kids in public schools have an IEP or a 504 now. And that's on the low end. So I just want y'all to know it's getting real bad out here. And I don't think that the public education system as it is going to last another 20 years. It's collapsing. So what's going to happen is parents are going to have to be responsible for their children's education. And we see that they couldn't even do that during COVID. These kids got so far behind. Parents couldn't even monitor and make sure these kids were doing what they were supposed to do while the teacher was on the computer. So how I see public education going, I think eventually these bills for charter schools or these bills for voucher programs where families get a certain amount of money and they can choose the school that the kids go to, I think that is what is going to take over. And honestly and truly, given the cultural situation, I believe that is the best thing because it's not getting better. People are not raising their children correctly. It's better to just give the money to the parents, and the kids who actually want to learn have an opportunity to not be in a school filled with other children who are violent and don't want to work and don't care about their future. It's better they have an opportunity to pick tailored education. Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay. Okay. Go do your work. Okay, go do your work. Yeah, so that's where it's going, and that's where it needs to go. And honestly and truly, it took me being a teacher to come to this conclusion, because you could have never told me that I would have been pro voucher program before I became a teacher. I was very much give the school districts more money, right? But once I figured out what was going on, I was like, oh no, no, this cannot continue. It's hard on the students, it's hard on the teachers, and these parents don't want to parent. So what I see happening is the parents that don't care, their kids will just be uneducated, and that will have a negative effect on society. But honestly and truly, guys, there are countries, in this country in Colombia, they just got public education like what, 20, 30 years ago. So it is a luxury that people have abused and have taken for granted at this point. The public school used to be a place where everybody could come. We accepted people of all races, nationalities, disabilities, religions, creeds, but people have made public school teachers, it's always the teachers, it's never the administrators, it's always the teachers. People have made public school teachers the enemy number one. A lot of people are operating under the delusion that we want to indoctrinate their children to be a part of the alphabet community, when we just want to teach the get through the state curriculum on time, right? And in most school districts, that those type of things aren't even included. I hear so many lies. I remember I met some people from New York when I was in Cartagena last year, and they were like, oh, in Texas, y'all don't teach the kids correctly. Y'all don't teach about slavery. And I'm a social studies teacher. Sir, yes, I teach extensively about slavery. It's state tested. But people have made this issue so bipartisan and based on political parties that people just walk around saying anything or mischaracterizing what we're actually doing in the school district. I remember watching a video of a parent coming into a teacher's classroom. I don't know where this teacher was. She was an older teacher and she had a rainbow flag up. And everybody was going in like, yeah, they're indoctrinating our kids in the school. And that's not even the norm. It's not a normal thing for you to go into a classroom in a school district and see an LGBT flag. I've never seen it, nor have I really heard about it too much in the school. I was a social studies teacher. We taught like one chapter on the LGBT movement and the Stonewall riots, and it was during the 60s, the civil rights movement, and we moved on. And I didn't give my opinion. I just said the events that happened. So guys, that's it. I know I went on a rant. And let me tell you, if you are an educator and you watch this video all the way through, there is a way out. You don't have to stay. Get out. The best thing for you to do is accept the inevitable. It is collapsing. It's not getting any better. There's nothing that you can do to change the situation. There are plenty of teachers who have come and they thought they were going to be the Lady on Freedom Riders. That was a movie, and that was in the 90s. The situation has changed drastically, and what we are seeing is an intentional dismantling of the school district as it stands, and the majority of people in administration knows that. So it's a money grab at this point. A lot of them know they're going to have to transition into getting money off of education online, or opening a charter school, or going on to something else altogether. They see the writing on the wall. Now, if you are a teacher and you are fed up with the school system and you are fed up with living in America, I can help you. As a matter of fact, you're in an awesome position to move around and perhaps teach somewhere else. And because I used my position last year as a teacher to help me move, I can help you do that. So you can send me an email at thepassportsis@gmail.com to schedule a consultation. It is not free, but it's rather inexpensive, right? We can talk about your particular situation, but there is a way out that is specific to you as a teacher that I can help you with. You just have to be willing to do the work. I did it in 6 months. Maybe you can give yourself a year timeline, or a 2-year timeline. If you're not a teacher and you have a college degree and you want to move out the country, I can help you use teaching to do that. You just got to be willing to put in a year worth of work that you might not like, but something is better than nothing. But anyways, guys, that's all I have today. Thank y'all all for tuning in. I will see y'all tomorrow at 4:30. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, follow my other YouTube channel, Thepassportsis. That is my channel where I will be talking about travel, if you're into that, and expat living. So I'm just kind of getting it up. Also, you can follow me on TikTok at Thepassportsis. And with that said, everybody have a wonderful evening.